Hey guys, Brent Campbell again. After diving into the BMW E46 M3's controversial electro-hydraulic manual, the SMG or Sequential Manual Gearbox, and its history and reputation last week, today we're focusing on how these transmissions can be, and oftentimes are, converted to a manual. For anyone who's thinking about doing it, or is just fascinated by it like I am, it's not as painful a process as you might think. With 40,000 SMG E46 M3 sold from 2000 through 2006, or roughly 47% of the total 85,000 or so E46 M3 sold, surely thousands of people by now have faced the same decision when their SMG failed. Spend the thousands of dollars to fix their less reliable SMG gearbox, or spend about the same to convert it to a manual. That said, I was all excited to take it out, and I know that the SMG was not doing so hot.
On the fritz.
Yeah, so I figured that it was coming, I just didn't know when. And sure enough, first time I took it out, it goes. And so I limp it over here and they begin to do their thing. From here, it's best that my mechanic Joe picks it up.
Brought the car in, it was basically going into a natural neutral position in the SMG transmission. The actuator actually failed. We tried playing around with it, tried flushing fluids through it. Sometimes the solenoids inside of the actuator get stuck. It's kind of like an ABS unit where the solenoids get stuck in certain positions. So we ran a flush through the system, bled it, tried to free up the solenoid itself. Fortunately, the system itself was full. So that's when we decided to go to the manual swap. I thought it was a great decision. These cars were, my perspective, meant to be a manual car. SMG was a great design at the time for BMW to make an F1 feel, but it had its flaws. It just couldn't keep up with changing gears as a clutch system would. Basically, we diagnosed it. Brent made the decision that he was going to go all in on this car and make it what it should have been from the factory, which it basically was. If you take that transmission out, all the bells and whistles on the inside, all the synchros and stuff are a manual gearbox. You just have that tail end of it where it's doing an electrical shift for you done by the solenoid gearbox. We took that all apart, had the transmission taken out, split the bell housing off, which is the big part of the swap. The transmission was in perfect working order, which we had determined before making the switch over. The pump is what essentially caused the problem, because the pump is what makes the transmission shift. The transmission itself internally was fine. We were able to go through the gears manually after we had part of it apart. Manually on top, you still have a linkage on top of it where you could switch through the gears, making sure that all the synchros and the gears inside the transmission are still good so we can move forward onto the manual swap. Because if we thought that something internally was wrong with the transmission, there's no point in even swapping. Once we had the bell housing out, you're taking a 2-bar holster, machining them out, and you're putting detent springs in them. Basically what those detent springs are doing are making the shifter inside feel like it has a natural position, and also it gives you the spring so you have that click over and reverse, which BMW is known for. That's the main modification that had to be done outside of the house. Once we got that bell housing back, it was assembly time. Put everything together, put the bell housing back onto the gearbox, which is only about that long, put the bell housing back on, and then it was time to assemble the tail shaft. Putting the tail shaft in is putting 2 rods that actually pull your shifter, which is your shift linkage, that actually connects right to the shifter that comes right through the fire hole and right up to your hands. In that process, we had to make the car into a manual. As an automatic car, you don't have a third pedal, you don't have a hole for the shifter, so that's when we proceeded to modify the actual vehicle itself. BMW already has a template. Basically, it's a 2 3/4 hole. Took a hole saw and cut right through the bottom of the car. Went through the top, went right through it. At the factory, that's would have been done as a cut plate, but they sealed that up, cut a hole through it, put a little rubber around it so it is sealed, and that's where your shifter will come right through. We had to run all the lines for the slave cylinder for the clutch, install the clutch pedal, which is basically some bracketry that goes onto the brake pedal. It's a small bracket that connects right to the bracket of the brake pedal, so you could put a pin through so you have your third pedal there. A couple springs that hold that in. Did have to wire up the brake switch and the clutch switch. So when you go to start the car, you can't start the car just by turning the key like the olden days. So you had to depress the clutch so you get that start position from the key, send the signal to the starter to start up the vehicle. Did a ton of research on this. Was very excited to do it. A lot of it they don't show. The little packetry that you had to put on for the pedals there really aren't great explanations on the internet. You really have to get your hands in there. We ordered everything straight from BMW. They knew exactly what we were doing. Once we told them the swap that we were going to do it, they gave us a list of everything that you need, and we just picked off of that list.
So is this through like ECS or?
No, BMW. Westchester BMW. Got a lot of our parts from.
And it took you a long time to get it.
Well, that was the thing, piecing everything together. I know ECS does sell kits and stuff like that, but it's not complete kits. There's still other things that you have to purchase in the process of doing this, just taking everything into place, put it into car, and finally getting that final start up and that first drive you take with it. It's really a great feeling. And then other aspects of it, hiding everything away from what we had to take out. There's a lot of electronics that tuck away, make it look like it never was there. We did the whole de-install of the SMG where we took out the pump, took out all the lines, everything that was there. They did a pretty good job of hiding everything for the SMG. SMG, everything was located underneath the intake manifold. Only thing left that if Brent wanted to invest the money to make it completely gone, unfortunately they put the reservoir on the intake. This is the SMG reservoir. The manual ones will not have that. There will just be a clean open space. That's the only other adjustment that you would have to make to someone to open this up and know that it wasn't an SMG. The box is under there, runs all the lines to the back of the transmission. I think there were 7 metal lines coming off of it, 1 for each gear. You got your reverse, then you got the return line to the pump to the reservoir. Took all that clean out of the way. All the wire bracketry, there are some shields underneath where I wrapped everything up nice. Put it under there so you can't even see it if you're underneath the car. If you want to take a look inside, replacing all of the plastic that has aged over time. Factory OEM BMW short shifter, which was a great upgrade. They're enthusiast cars. It's a play car for that matter.
They use it for very important things like groceries and taking the kids to school. I mean, it's essential.
But for its era, it's a inline 6 individual throttle body, and it just has that sound to it. You can hear and you know it's a naturally aspirated M3. That's really what it comes down to.
The SMG hydraulic pump often fails, resulting in a pricey repair. If this happens to a car you own, it often makes more sense to convert the car to a manual rather than fix the SMG unit. And yes, this is exactly what happened with mine. To learn more about why the SMG was such a big deal when new, click here to watch my video from last week about this. To learn about what I think about the car after the conversion, that one's next. Thanks for watching.